What's happening, everybody? On today's show, a recruiting bonanza across the SEC as Florida keeps loading up. Mississippi State adds some big names, while Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Kentucky add a few others. Pro Football Focus ranks the best quarterback rooms in the country. We'll tell you what SEC teams made the list. And our very own top 5 SEC head coaching rankings. Locked on SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege, and they'll throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, we got a lot to jump into, tons of recruiting stuff going on, so let's do it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Takes the handoff.
Around the conference.
And we start over at Mississippi State as they had a little domino effect on Tuesday. First, it started with J.J. Harrell. Why do you maybe remember that name? Well, he's a wide receiver who decommitted from Tennessee just a few days ago. And now he has announced he is staying at home, going to Mississippi State. A big get for Zach Arnett and company. He is now Mississippi State's highest-rated recruit in the class of 2024. And the Bulldogs beat out old Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, where some people were expecting maybe he might be leaning to. They also beat out the likes of Alabama and LSU. He's a 4-star recruit. And Mississippi State now has verbal commitments from 2 wide receivers in the 2024 class in 3-star Matt Mayfield and now the 4-star J.J. Harrell. He is considered the number 155 overall prospect, the number 22 wide receiver, and the number 4 player out of the state of Mississippi. Now, shortly after J.J. Harrell committed to the Mississippi State, another guy, Braylon Burnside, made his commitment to the Bulldogs. He's a 6'1" wideout from Starkville High, turned down Ole Miss to go play for Zach Arnett in his hometown. Took an official visit to A&M, had another one scheduled to Arkansas, but he has decided to keep it right there in Starkville. His 4-star prospect, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, the number 6 prospect from the state of Mississippi, the number 14 athlete in this class, and rated the number 185 overall prospect. He has played snaps at receiver and safety for his high school team, so we'll see ultimately where he ends up. But, man, they just keep adding. Mississippi State picked up another blue-chip commitment as well in cornerback, 4-star corner, P.J. Woodland. Hattiesburg native, chose the Bulldogs over the likes of LSU. And he plays both corner and wide receiver at his high school in Hattiesburg. 6 foot tall, 165 pounds. So he needs to put a little weight on there. But he is Mississippi State's 20th commitment so far for the class of 2024. Woodland is considered the number 34 athlete and the number 14 player from the state of Mississippi. So congrats to Zach Arnett and Mississippi State. They've been a little bit quiet here, I guess, in recent weeks on the recruiting front. 3 big gets for them all on the same day. So congrats to those guys. Meanwhile, over at Tennessee, Josh Heupel working on putting his class into the top 15 and maybe even higher. They picked up a 4-star linebacker named Jordan Burns out of Atlanta. His commitment came down to, or he's down to Tennessee, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. Had a ton of offers, but he picked the Vols. 6'1", 215 pounds. Like I said, 4-star prospect, the number 34 linebacker in the country, and the number 47 player from the state of Georgia. And Tennessee now has 13 players in their 2024 class, currently ranked 13th in the country. How about old Billy Napier and the Florida Gators? I don't even think they're sleeping down there in Gainesville. They just keep up all night on social media and on the phones, working on getting more recruits. Florida picked up a commitment from a 5-star edge prospect, Jamonte Waller, on Monday evening, became the Gators' 9th commitment in the past week. He's considered the number one player out of the state of Mississippi, and he was crystal balled to Ole Miss prior to his commitment to the Florida Gators. He is a physical freak, 6'2", 225, also runs track, and he had offers from Bama, Auburn, Penn State, Ole Miss, and he is going to Florida. The Gators, of course, on a roll right now, currently up to the number 5 overall recruiting class in 2024 cycle, and they've got 3 5-stars now when you include Jamonte Waller with Xavier Filsame, the safety, and DJ Lagway, the quarterback. Waller ranks as the number 28 prospect in the country and the number 5 edge rusher overall. So big time get there for Billy Napier. And what is in the water down there in Florida? Now, Paul Feinbaum made his weekly appearance on Jocks FM in Birmingham this week, and he was asked about Florida's recent productive stretch in recruiting. And he mentioned, those 2024 opponents for Florida, we got the schedule released a week ago. He said there is caution and patience baked into the cake for Billy Napier because expectations are, look, Napier is trying to exceed the low expectations there in Gainesville. And Feinbaum said, look, I think the mistake people are making is when they get excited about his recruiting, compared to which school Florida is recruiting better than it has been. Still trailing Georgia, still trailing some other schools in the SEC, but it's like a NASCAR race. You could still be in the top 5 or 6 or 7, but unless you're going to turn around, or unless you're going around turn 4, you better jump ahead of somebody. That's ultimately what Florida is facing right now. Feinbaum went on to say, patience only goes so far with the Florida fan base. I don't care how long it's been since they last been relevant. He said Napier needs a notable win this season, and not necessarily to win 7 or 8 games, but he needs to show people what he's capable of as a coach. He said he did that too early last year in the first game against Utah, and he didn't do it again after that. He needs to do it somewhere along the line this year to give people hope. I disagree with Feinbaum there. I think, look, it reminds me a lot of Steve Sarkisian this past or 2 years ago when he first took the Texas job. Very underwhelming first year at Texas. Well, they go like 5-7. It was a rough year, but he was recruiting like crazy and putting together great recruiting classes. And then ultimately got that kid named Arch Manning. And I think a lot of folks said Florida or Texas, like, we got to stick this out with Sark. Same thing with Napier. If he putting together a top 5 class for 2024, if 2023 goes south, let's say they go 6-6 or 5-7, I still don't think you make a move. Now, look, let's be real. If it's 7 losses and they're all abysmal blowouts and this team looks completely overmatched, then yeah, maybe a change is needed. But I still feel like no matter what the win total is for Florida this year, because they're crushing on the recruiting trail, it's giving fans hope. It's giving fans hope for the future. I know the 2024 schedule is tough, but there's my rant there on Feinbaum's comments. All right, a few other recruiting notes here over at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, they did add another recruit to their mix. John Wayne Oliver, 6'5", 275-pound offensive tackle out of Nashville. He announced his commitment to Ole Miss. He had a ton of offers, ranked the number 39 offensive tackle in the class of 2024, the number 13 player from the state of Tennessee. He told the Tennessean, I know a lot of the players at Ole Miss, and I've always wanted to play in the SEC. It's 4 hours from my house. This was important because of my family and the fact that my sister goes over to Mississippi State. So congrats to Lane Kiffin on that one. Over at Vanderbilt, Clark Lee added a piece to his 2024 class with Southlake Carroll standout Harrison Moore. He's 6'5", 260 pounds. He's a tight end who moved to offensive tackle this offseason. Not been rated by the 4 major recruiting websites, so we'll see what position ultimately he ends up playing. Over at Kentucky, Mark Stoops, he picked up a piece to his big blue wall in Jordan LaFontant, a lineman out of Kentucky, or Connecticut, rather, coming to Kentucky. 6'3", 285 pounds, 3-star prospect, the number 11 recruit out of the state of Connecticut. And also picked up Jacob Cowie, a 6'2", 200-pound kicker out of Montana, committed to Kentucky. So congrats to him. And one quick note here on the Florida or Tennessee, one of their assistants, Corey Robinson, has experience as a DB's coach at both the NFL and college level. He is expected to land at Tennessee as an analyst. So he was on the Saints staff the last 30 seasons as their assistant DB's coach, Corey Robinson. He's now going over to Tennessee. So there you have it. That's the latest news going on around the conference. When we return, coming up next, we are going to touch on the Pro Football Focus. They rated the best quarterback rooms in 2023. We'll tell you where the SEC comes in on that list. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And we want to remind you guys that this episode is presented to you by our friends over at Birddogs. Birddogs making you look good. If you wear the shorts, you know what I'm talking about. They're khaki shorts. They are slim and designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg, giving you that truly sculpted look if you have ever tried them on. Look, we got a couple pairs a few weeks ago. I love the versatility of Birddogs. You can literally wear them anywhere. You can wear them out on a date. You can wear them out by the pool. You can wear them in a work function. Whatever it is, Birddogs has got you covered. They're versatile. They're fun to wear. And again, they fit great. They fit better than regular shorts that are made of that stiff, restricting cotton. Birddogs fixed that issue using a cloud knit fabric that looks like khaki, but it stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. They also use that anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all summer long. Look, it's hot. Birddogs is going to get you, it's going to take care of business with you with their shorts. Go to birddogs.com right now, birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. And when you make an order, you're going to get that free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. Get that free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. Going along here, Locked On SEC, and thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Don't miss the Locked On NBA Draft Live coming up this Thursday night. Pick-by-pick analysis from our stable of local NBA hosts, national reaction from our NBA Big Board hosts, and live check-ins from inside the NBA Draft. Locked On NBA Draft Live starting at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern on the Locked On NBA YouTube page. And ton of SEC guys going to be in the mix in that NBA draft coming up on Thursday night. We'll keep an eye on that and see if there's any notable moves outside of Brandon Miller expected to go top 3. All right, let's dive into this because saw this posted yesterday. Pro Football Focus has put out, or Max Chadwick from Pro Football Focus, he ranked the 10 best quarterback rooms in college football heading into the upcoming season. And here's how it shakes out. He's got the USC Trojans number 1, but coming in from the SEC, he has got LSU number 2. Now, look, reigning Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams at USC, it's kind of easy to do that. They've been recruiting very well, and Lincoln Riley seems to know a thing or two when it comes to quarterbacks, right? I mean, Heisman Trophy winners in Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray ends up being the number 1 picks in the draft. Caleb Williams is set to probably be the number 1 pick in next year's NFL draft. So great pedigree there. So can't really argue with Caleb Williams and USC, but he calls LSU's 1-2 punch at quarterback the best in the nation. With Jaden Daniels, he has him as his number 6 returning signal caller in the country, led all FBS quarterbacks in rushing yards last year and turnover-worthy play rate. And Jaden Daniels doesn't throw interceptions barely ever. Now, Garrett Nussmeier, he's the number 2 in Baton Rouge, and he comes back for his redshirt sophomore season, despite the fact that he probably could have started for just about any school out there if he had entered the transfer portal. So LSU number 2 in PFF's best quarterback rooms in the country. Number 3, he's got the Texas Longhorns, of course, future SEC team. You got Quinn Ewers there, and you got Arch Manning coming in there. So that makes sense. Texas Longhorns up there at number 3. But at number 4, he's got the Ole Miss Rebels. And Lane Kiffin has a problem on his hands. It's a good problem, but now you consider he's added the latest Florida flip recruit in Austin Simmons. He says basically if it's a throwing competition on sheer arm talent, like, look, Ole Miss has got plenty of options. And so it makes sense they're number 4. I almost might think I would slide them maybe ahead of Texas. Like, what's the thought in the rankings here? You know, if USC, if it's just about Caleb Williams and that trumps all, okay, I get it. But if LSU's got 2 viable starters in Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, doesn't that tell you something? Like if Jaden Daniels were to go down, LSU would feel fully confident and rolling through the rest of the season with Garrett Nussmeier. Texas is a little different. Like if Quinn Ewers goes down, do they just throw Arch Manning in there? I don't think they do. I think they're going to go with one of the other guys on the roster and give Arch the true freshman redshirt this year. But Ole Miss, I would say, I would probably slide ahead of Texas, at least in these rankings, because Spencer Sanders, Jackson Dart, and then even Walker Howard coming in from LSU, and now you add Austin Simmons. That's a pretty solid quarterback room for the Ole Miss Rebels. But again, this is Pro Football Focus's rankings. They come in with the Oregon Ducks at number 5, the Washington Huskies at number 6. And how about the Tennessee Volunteers coming in at number 7? He says that Tennessee is a team to watch. You know, among FBS quarterbacks with at least 100 dropbacks in 2022, Joe Milton led them all with 11% big-time throw rate. Of course, we know he's got the big arm. The question is, can he put some more touch on it instead of overthrowing guys like he has in the past? He says the Volunteers also bring in a top 10 overall recruit, Nico Iamaleava, who possesses the best physical tools of any quarterback in this past recruiting class. So Tennessee coming in at number 7. And rounding out for the SEC, coming in at number 8, it's the Georgia Bulldogs. And, of course, we know Carson Beck is there. According to PFF, they say Beck earned an impressive 87 passing grade on 39 dropbacks. And Brock Vandergriff is entering his 3rd season with the Bulldogs. He was a 5-star recruit in the 2021 class. So a loaded quarterback room there for Georgia. They come in at number 8. And then rounding out the top 10, they've got Oklahoma at number 9. Of course, Dylan Gabriel over there, soon to be in the SEC, the Sooners. And then North Carolina coming in at number 10. They've got Drake May at quarterback. As you guys know, a lot of people expect to be a high draft pick next year. Mac Brown and company. They open the season with South Carolina and Spencer Rattler. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. But LSU number 2, Ole Miss number 4, Tennessee number 7, and Georgia number 8. All great options. My question, though, is are we leaving out Alabama here? Like, if we're talking collective quarterback rooms, we know Alabama likes some of their, likes their quarterbacks in Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson. And then their 2, incoming freshmen that just came in, and then bringing in Tyler Buckner. Like, that's a pretty good quarterback room. We don't know who the starter is yet, but there's a lot of talent there. Like, those guys have a lot of great skills. And if they keep them together, like, whoever wins that job for Bama, if they go on a great success, who's not to say down the road one of those other guys becomes the starter at Alabama and becomes very good. So I would make a case for Bama, probably slide him in at least number 10 ahead of North Carolina, but I get what you're going to argue. Bama don't even know who their starter is. So how can you say it's one of the better quarterback rooms? It's just because they have good options. I'm sure there's plenty of other schools around the country and the SEC that would love to have Alabama's quarterback room right now because there's so many different pieces there. So we'll see. But there you go. That's PFF, their rankings for top 10 of best quarterback rooms in the country. All right, thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we're going to run through, it was a little experiment here at Locked On. We had all of our SEC analysts rank the SEC head coaches 1 to 5, or really just rank their top 5 SEC head coaches in their own personal rankings, and then we collectively put them all together. You may be surprised who comes up in this top 5 ranking, but we'll bring that to you in just a sec. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC, and again, thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Keep checking us out every day. Tomorrow on the show, talking more on the upcoming football season. We'll have an analyst or two joining us here before the week is over. You don't want to miss that, so keep it locked right here to Locked On SEC. All right, our final segment here, wanted to get to this. Again, explained it just a second ago, but all of us here at Locked On SEC, all of our SEC hosts on the Locked On Network, we were tasked with ranking our top 5 SEC coaches. And then what they did was they put them all into a pot and then collectively put the averages out and said, all right, well, what does this look like in terms of who are the top 5? So here we go. Here is the top 5 football coaches in the SEC based on all of our Locked On hosts. So like Brandon, host of Locked On Gators, Caroline, host of Locked On LSU, John Neighbors, Locked On Razorbacks. Everybody voted in this. and this is what we came up with collectively. Number one, best coach in the SEC, Kirby Smart currently. And number two is Nick Saban. So I wanted to take away that suspense there. So no surprise there. The guy who's won back-to-back national championships. It's Kirby Smart, number one, and Nick Saban. Don't forget that guy. He's the guy who won all the championships before Kirby, that Nick Saban guy. So pretty collectively, look, some Bama fans and some folks might argue Saban still deserves to be number one, even despite Kirby's recent success. However you want to do them, that's 1 and 2. But let's get to the other ones. They have Brian Kelly coming in at number 3. It feels maybe a little bit premature because Brian Kelly's only been in the SEC 1 year. And it was a nice job. You know, he won the SEC West. He beat Nick Saban in Alabama in year 1. That's something not a lot of folks in the SEC do, period. So kind of got the monkey off his back there in year 1 and was able to beat Alabama. But I don't know. I guess you could say Brian Kelly number 3, but number 4 is Josh Heupel. Do we boost Heupel a little bit higher than Brian Kelly just simply because look at Heupel's got a couple more years there at Tennessee, and he also beat Brian Kelly head-to-head in Death Valley last year. So I might flip it a little bit. I might put Heupel 3, Brian Kelly 4, but those I think you can't really argue with. But number 5 came in very interesting. Mark Stoops from Kentucky in here. And again, I like Mark Stoops. I think he's done a really solid job there in Kentucky. But right now, going into the 2023 season, we're saying that Mark Stoops is the 5th best coach in the SEC. Again, I'll hear an argument for it. Again, he always has good defenses. You know, last year the offensive line was rough. They tend to give Georgia their best, you know, some tough battles, at least defensively they do. But let's look at some other guys who could have made a case here. You know, will we give Lane Kiffin the edge as the 5th best coach? Obviously, Hugh Freeze just got here. He's got to earn it. You know, coached in the SEC before, but just getting hired back. Can't really put him in the top 5 right now. Jimbo Fisher might have been in the top 5 a year or 2 ago, but based off of the awfulness of this 5 and 7 year last year, you got to take him out. Sam Pittman's doing a good job, but 7 and 6 last year overall, 3 and 5 in the conference. He's a very good coach, but I don't know if you'd call him top 5 in the conference. Billy Napier, you know, underachieved, I guess you'd say, in year 1. Eli Drinkwitz went 6 and 7 last year at Missouri. Clark Lee went 5 and 7 at Vandy. You know, Zach Arnett just took over at Mississippi State. Shane Beamer, nice job last year, went 8 and 5 in the conference, 4 and 4 in the SEC. So I would probably leave it there. Say Mark Stoops is, you know, he ranks number 5 on here, but who else could you make a case for? I would say probably Shane Beamer and Lane Kiffin. And I know some Ole Miss fans are going to get angry and probably say Lane Kiffin's got way more, you know, 1 more games at Ole Miss than Beamer has. So again, I'll hear an argument for either one, but those were our collective rankings, whether you like them or not. Feel free to comment on our YouTube page or tweet at us at Locked On SEC. I'm Chris Gordy. That is just about going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Thank you guys so much for making us your first listen every day. And again, shout out to our everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out every day right here on Locked On SEC. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.